Hello, everybody. Happy June 8th, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talent in Connecticut. And on today's show, we have the head coach of the softball program at Rocky Hill. His name is Tyler Catlin. Coach Catlin, it's a pleasure to be able to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
It's a pleasure to be able to have a coach amongst the softball ranks, and you're the first either player or coach for softball in Connecticut that I've been able to get on.
Oh, I feel honored. That's great. That's great.
So, Coach, before we get into your time as far as a coach, going into baseball, because you were there for a while and now at Rocky Hill, kind of just tell me about how are you dealing with the quarantine?
Well, this has been an absolutely crazy time. We were all looking forward, at least my team in general, we were looking forward to having a great season. We were excited. We were doing off-season workouts and lifting in February and March, gearing up for the season. And this pandemic started to, was rumoring to come into a play and going to shut down the United States, and sure enough, it did. And, we were waiting on the edges of our seat, see if, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and then we got our season canceled, much to the chagrin of my seniors. I had 6 seniors this year who unfortunately were unable to fulfill their dreams of, we wanted to maybe win a conference title and make a run at the state tournament. And I feel for them. And it's just too bad. And, it just hasn't sat well at all.
How was it? I mean, I can only imagine how you felt when you read the news. Now, did your players contact you when the news came out, or was it something where you had to tell them?
We live in this Twitterverse, and everything's posted all over the internet, and we keep in touch via email, and so when the news came out, I mean, obviously I reached out to the team, and they all saw it kind of coming. The writing was on the wall. That this world was flipped upside down. I think we all kind of expected it. And as much as it hurts that we didn't get to play this year, sometimes I just start to think about, there's been a lot of loss and grief in this country while this is all going down, and there's more important things. I try to keep that in mind a little bit, so, I mean, you got to put your priorities and just keep people safe, and we'll bounce back from this.
Have you been able to, obviously, I know with social distancing and because you can only meet up with X amount of people, it's probably been, you haven't been able to meet with the team, but have you been able to kind of try to, I don't want to say check up on them, but just kind of make sure that things are okay? Because like you mentioned, things are rough out in the U.S. and mainly Connecticut too.
So with my coaches, and I got team liaisons, I like to call them, my scorekeeper and team announcer, and my general manager, Mike Dudas. He's a tennis coach at Rocky Hill. He supports us a lot. We've been having weekly meetings where we have trivia and we hang out with each other. Like nothing would have changed from having the season and not having the season. We get together and have some good laughs. In terms of my players, we held a nice, individual meetings at the end of the year just to check in their well-being. I gave them hypothetical stats, how I thought they were going to do this year, and how I see them doing next year, like just making broad predictions and, getting them excited for next season. And, above that, I was checking in their well-being, making sure their grades were okay. And I thought we did a very nice job, my assistant coach, and Stacy Pinto. We ran a nice Zoom session with, all the parents and players, and we honored our seniors on senior night. And we had some underclassmen deliver some picture frames and some flowers to each kid's house and videotape, and we showed them on the Zoom meeting, and it was nice. I thought it was a nice touch. I think we did a nice job with that.
I think the one thing with this pandemic, if it's taught us anything as far as, the way technology is and having to kind of adapt to what could be a very new world, even after there's a vaccine because of this virus, I think it's allowed people to kind of maybe go outside. I don't want to say the boundaries, but kind of just go maybe more towards, I mean, just like what you mentioned with what you did with the seniors, like that's something that maybe you wouldn't have thought of if not for the virus. And I think it's pretty cool that, Rocky Hill, and I've heard some other programs for all sports trying to come up with different ideas just to try to honor the seniors who gave 3, 4, X amount of years with the program?
Yeah, on top of that little Zoom session, I saw what Davina Hernandez of Southington, she did with her team. They all dressed in their uniforms and they went to their home field. I thought that was a nice touch and a great idea on her part. And so I had my seniors meet at our home park at Elm Ridge, and the parents came and took some photos, and got to wear their uniforms out in the field one last time. It's a nice tribute to them. I thought that was a good way to honor them.
You don't strike me as a guy who probably gets teared up or maybe gets emotional, and that's fine. Everyone's like that. But did you kind of get like a little like wow, like maybe now this is starting to hit? Because it's one thing when it happens and then you have time to kind of reflect. But then when you see the seniors, like you mentioned, the parents taking pictures one last time, I mean, to me, that would hit me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, last year I had a senior, Lauren Patterson. That was my first senior that I saw all the way through my 4 years. And then this year I was really looking forward to watching these 6 seniors that essentially I grew up coaching with them, my coaching ranks, and I was looking forward to sending them out on a high note.
Mhm.
And so when we were on the field that day, it was just very confusing. We're all wearing masks. We're like, keeping our social distancing. Just nothing feels like
Mhm.
like real. And it does kind of, inside you feel it still felt good, but it felt different. I was still happy to see them smiling on the field, taking photos together, getting together. They probably haven't seen each other in months, so it's nice to get people together and respect the laws that the governor's put in place. But yeah, it was awkward and a little sad for sure.
But I give you a lot of credit, and I give every program who's done something as far as to try to help out the seniors. You know, I admire that a lot for being able to do the best they can to help out the seniors and even the players below who will be coming back, hopefully, when there's a season next year. Coach, now let's kind of get to yourself a little bit. Talk about your background as a coach, because I know you've not just been a softball coach, you also were a JV coach as well for baseball.
Yeah, so growing up, I played baseball, Berlin High School. We were, known in the area as a pretty good baseball town. Played for Leo Vilius, Hall of Fame coach, and went on to go to Southern Connecticut. Played a couple seasons for Tim Shea at at Southern Connecticut State Owls. And then after after college, after graduating, I got lucky. I got a long-term sub job at Platt High School in Meriden, and right away they needed a JV baseball coach and JV freshman baseball coach. And Rich Katz, who's a legend in that town, reached out to me, and I happily obliged to that offer, and I was there for 3 years as a building sub and coaching the baseball team, and also helping out with the school basketball team, the freshman team. And it was a great ride. I got to meet a lot of great people at Platt High School, many of which I keep in touch with today. I really enjoyed my 3 years there and learned a lot. Rich Katz was a very detail-oriented athletic director, and he taught me a whole lot about just staying on top of everything, and I really appreciated my time there.
Is there anything in particular that you took from your time as, you mentioned the JV, the freshman coach, and kind of just going through the ranks and seeing all the talent, even when you played at Berlin? Was there anything that you were able to take with you that has stuck with you now, being the softball coach at Rocky Hill?
Um, when I played baseball growing up, Berlin Legion, that was we were a very good team. We won the state championship in 2002, and we had a coach, Rob Manzo,
Mm-hmm.
who was a phenomenal leader. And a lot of the things I take with me today, what I liked about Rob Manzo is, we had 18 players on our Legion baseball team back then, and he had a couple players who got drafted, things like that. but like 1 through 18, everybody, he had a commitment to all 18 of his players' development. And I thought that was really impressive because he could have just easily just focused on his 8, 9, 10, starters and regular players. But, he knew he was building a program. And he knew, like, when I was 16, I only got like 8 at bats my 16-year-old year. I was just riding the bench. I mean, he would grind with me at batting practice, knowing that one day I was going to turn the corner and become a player in the program. And sure enough, I became an all-star my 18-year-old year with the team, and I helped the team as a 17-year-old win the state title. So that always stood out to me. And with my own team, I try to 1 through 20, 1 through 25, varsity, JV, doesn't matter. I try to check in with the players, and I want everybody to get better.
Now, your time at Rocky Hill, how did you end up with Rocky Hill? Because I know that there probably was other spots that maybe you could have gone, but you landed at the right spot.
So yeah, after Platt, 2012, that was my last year there, and then I coached one season I went back to school and I interned in Hartford at Classical Magnet. I helped out Jason Siegel, who's now the AD of West Hartford Public Schools, phenomenal AD over there. And I helped him with his softball team, Classical University first season, and then that, I moved on from that district after I student taught. So it wasn't until 2015 winter, my good friend John Vieira, he's a Platt High School teacher. He's one of the guys I met at Platt when I initially started there. His wife was the Weathersfield girls varsity basketball coach. And 2 weeks prior to the season starting that year, and mind you, she was pregnant at the time, her JV coach left the team. He found a new job. And so she was kind of strapped there. And she and John, they reached out to me, because I coached with John at Platt. He was the JV boys basketball coach back then. And I was I had nothing going on. I was I was very available, looking to fill my time with stuff, and I had a blast with it. That was my first time getting into, the second time actually, getting into girls sports, and I had a very good time with that at Weathersfield. And the Weathersfield job parlayed into the girls softball job at Rocky Hill. I was coaching Summer Boudet at the time, who was on the Weathersfield varsity basketball team, and her mom, Colleen Boudet, who's our team scorekeeper, great woman, who coaches Weathersfield softball and used to coach at Rocky Hill softball, connected me to the athletic director at Rocky Hill, and we started they had an open position, and I'm grateful for that connection.
So it really seems like, if I wrote this right, if I'm going to pull a Madden from the NFL back then, if you follow here and go here, and then you go there, and then you end up here, that's how you got to Rocky Hill. Right?
Yeah, a lot of networking, a lot of positive networking. Good, if anything came out of this, I think I've made a lot of positive relationships with people. I tried to listen more than talk. I think I want to hope I did a lot more listening. And I think when people meet me, they know I'm open to learning new ideas and receptive to gaining new knowledge, and I think that's led me to a decent path. So.
And there's nothing wrong with networking. I think now, because of the pandemic, that's, I've told many young people that I've talked to, I've been able to talk to some teams in the NVL whose coaches had me come down and speak about, what to do after college, and speaking about social media. And the one thing I've told all of them is, social media can be your best friend or your worst enemy. It's great for networking, to get your product or get your, podcast, get stuff out there and try to push it. But Herm Edwards said a couple years ago at a rookie camp for the NFL guys, think about before you press send, because once you press send, it's there forever.
Yeah. And we're in a touchy spot in the American culture right now, and I totally agree with what you're saying, Chris. I try to think twice about anything that I'm about to post. I try to, I'm a teacher. Not only am I a coach, I'm a teacher. So, I don't want to influence students one way or the other, but it's a interesting time in our history right now. So
now, before we get into your time with Rocky Hill, quick question for you, because I've always I haven't had an opportunity to ask a softball coach at the college level, because obviously busy with my own stuff because I broadcast for Trinity and Wesleyan in the NESCAC. So I'm always kind of running around trying to get lineups and doing my normal broadcast stuff. But I've always wondered, especially because you have coached at the baseball level and then obviously with softball. Obviously, there's differences, but is there anything in particular that is similar to the game?
It's a great question. I I always love to find a number two hitter
Okay.
that's lefty, whether it be baseball or softball. I've growing up, I batted lefty. I threw righty, and I was good with the bat. Like I could hit it the other way. I could lay down a beautiful bunt and get on base, even if it
Mm-hmm.
was a sac bunt. And I try to push that with my softball guys. I have right now a number two hitter in our lineup. She would have been a sophomore this year. That could slap it the other way. She could pull a double down the right field line. She could lay down a sac bunt with first and second with nobody out that she could beat out. You know, make it really exciting and put a lot of pressure on the defense. So like that's one thing that just stands out to me when you ask that question. Like just somebody that's versatile in the T spot that doesn't strike out a lot,
Mm-hmm.
that gets on base, works counts. You know, I love setting the table. I love having a leadoff guy, who can get on and, steal a base, little things like that. And my favorite movie of all time, and I don't care if it's baseball or softball, and I talk to my team about this all the time, is Moneyball.
Yes.
Um,
See, now you made up for wearing that Patriots shirt. Thank you.
um, but Moneyball, like I preach to my team, just on base, on base, on base. I don't care how you do it, type deal.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of each season, I have a game changer, and I share their on base percentage with them and my goals for them the following year. That's like my big stat. I don't really care about the batting average as much as I do about the on base percentage. And I hope that resonates with them. I try to talk to them about working counts. A 2-0 count, 3-1 count, as opposed to a 1-2 count. What your chances are of getting a base hit. Like I want my girls to understand when they're at the plate, and this would go for baseball as well. When I was at Platt, when you have a 1-2 count, you have a 135 batting average. When you have a 3-1 count, you probably have a 400 batting average. Like the percentages are more on your side with favorable counts and things like that. I just try to break down the scenarios of the game and what pitches they might be expecting in certain counts. So I think that's a big part of the game for sure.
I love that. A coach that looks at on base percentage instead of trying to go for the three true outcomes, walk, strikeout, home runs. That's the name of the game. And I've noticed too with softball is that, yes, you'll have games where there's strikeouts. I mean, that's just how it is. But the amount that I have seen where, and even this goes for the high school level too, when I've gone to some of the championship games and such in the NVL, where they put the ball in play, they force defenses to have to make the throws. I mean, that's why when I see, a lot of the great teams in softball at the college level and then baseball at the pro level and even college too, are the teams that put the ball in play. You force the defense to have to make the throws.
It's the name of the game. I mean, each year I told you I had individual meetings with my players, and the hypothetical stats I threw at them. Each kid had their strikeouts decreasing. I want them to believe that they would have not had as many strikeouts, and I'm, moving towards next season. And that's always my goal. Like a lot of coaches and batting coaches nowadays say, don't shorten up, things like that. And I don't necessarily disagree with them, but I also think just finding a way to put the bat on the ball, like having that mindset in your head, whatever it takes to just put the ball in play is absolutely crucial, especially in the game of softball. Hey, definitely in the game of varsity baseball as well. I mean, you got a long throw from short, and you never know. You never know what's going to happen for sure.
Has the high school level, because I know for baseball it has the softball level gone or started to go as with baseball with launch angle and trying to lift the baseball? Because I know the talk about is, I'll never forget this. A couple years ago, Josh Donaldson was on MLB Network, and he told, I think it was Mark DeRosa during a spring training day game that, if your coach, he was telling this to kids, if your coach tells you to get on top of the baseball, tell him no. And I was like, what? he was telling people to get underneath the baseball because that's what baseball is doing with the swings and trying to go uphill to lift the baseball. Is that happening with softball too?
That's a great question, Chris. Just getting it back to the counts. My
Mhm.
goal for my girls is I just want them. I say square up on it. Like get that 2-0 count, see that pitch, out of the pitcher's hand coming right down the middle, and square up and crush it. And I'm not saying and I want them to swing out of their boots,
Mhm.
and I preach that. Like I want them to, if they think in the 2-0 pitch they could jack one out of the park, go for it. And I've seen it plenty of times. It's a beautiful sport for that matter. um, I don't want them taking easy 2-0 counts to get a base hit. I want them to hit a gapper. Am I
Mhm.
saying drop your shoulder and lift it? No. Am I saying get on top of it? Not necessarily. I'm just saying hit the ball hard.
Mhm.
It's I don't know. Like I think one way or the other, if you say hit the top or lift that ball up, you might be running into some issues where kids might change their swing possibly. So
Yeah, it's a very sticky situation. I mean, we could talk about hitting forever, coach, and you know, I want to try to get to the side now with the team because we got a couple minutes left. And Coach Catlin, I really do appreciate you coming on and being able to be the first softball coach to come on. So, congrats to you. I know you're very
wow,
excited about that.
I feel very accomplished for that. That's awesome.
So, kind of give me a projection because I know you've done that with the players for this past season because obviously the season did not happen. But kind of give me a projection of how Rocky Hill will look next season in 2021.
Well, last year we had 8 underclassmen starters
Mhm.
who are all returning this year, and we only had 5 wins last year. We went 5-15. There was 2 or 3 games that could have went either way, but that's neither here nor there. So this year we kind of thought we return all of our starters. We were working hard in the off season. I know all my players were especially my starters were all incorporated with some sort of summer league. So I could tell in the winter league and the fast pitch nation in Bloomfield. So their heads were all in the right places.
Mhm.
And I figured we'd have a nice year this year where we'd have a chance at the conference. I truly believed in that. That's there's we were going for the division, and next year we're returning them all again. We lost one senior this year, um, who was a full time starter at second base, Megan Kana. She had some great numbers throughout the year. We're going to be losing her. We're also losing a right fielder, Julia Rizzo, who played a lot of big innings for us. Had a big hit last year against Weathersfield, one of our division rivals. We're going to be losing Annie Ensign, who was named captain at the beginning of this year. She was like our utility player. She would fill in at different spots whenever we needed her. Lana Giansanti was hoping to get, some spots at third base this year. That spot became open. Theo Bonamico, Theo Bonamico and Sam Menendez were both vying for some more playing time this year. So we're losing these seniors, and I think they would have certainly helped us, with the chance to win a division title this season. Next year, we return our junior pitcher who would have been a junior this year. She'll be a senior, 1 year older, Nicole DeRoche. Um, She's a powerful hitter, and she throws the ball hard. She's going to need to continue to work on her spots and develop like some secondary pitches. And the sky's the limit for this girl. And if she works and she becomes a dominant ace, which I know she has the potential to be, and we we can make a run in the state tournament. I'm not going to say state championship or bust, but we can make a run. You win the first, maybe you win a good amount of games in the regular season. You get a first round bye, maybe a second round bye, and then you're in the quarterfinals. I don't know, things like that. You just got to win games. So
Yeah, and it helps too if you have, just like in baseball, and I hate to keep going back to baseball, but I just feel like there's so many similarities with baseball. If you have a good at the high school level, if you have a good 1 and 2 and a solid reliever or two, you can make a pretty nice run if the lineup does their job. With softball, and I noticed this early on when I was really kind of getting into the softball game and broadcasting, is that if you have a dominant pitcher like a number one, they can come back in like a day or two, and sometimes even quicker because throwing underhand is a lot more different than that's a natural motion, as you know, whereas over the
Yeah.
top, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, with baseball, it's, your elbow and everything. It's a
Yep.
lot, it's a very intense motion. Softball, I mean, my first season with the 2016 team, we went to the state championship. We unfortunately lost to Seymour 1-0, but we went on a great run with Jess Greenspan. She pitched every game for us just about,
Hmm.
except some games that we see a pitcher at the time, and she was, you get a good number one pitcher in softball, it's like the quarterback in the NFL. Like
Yep.
you could ride that player to the to glory for real. Like if they're throwing strikes and they're using their secondary pitches and hitting their spots, and they keep the defense involved. I mean, striking out a lot of batters.
Hmm.
It's great, and I'm hoping Nicole, maybe she watches this. I hope that's what she leads us to next year for sure. I hope she doesn't want to just pitch 4 or 5 innings and have to give up to I want her to want the ball for 7 innings straight and carry us.
Well, Coach, I do wish your team nothing but the best of luck in 2021. I know it's far away, but I mean, this quarantine felt like it's gone by, at least in my eyes, kind of quick. And hopefully the season can come through quicker so that way softball players and coaches and such can get back to somewhat normalcy again.
Yeah, what's pretty cool is I think summer softball is going, for that matter, baseball. I think there's gonna be some summer programs, some summer leagues, and I know our high school team, we have a summer league in the Northern Connecticut Girls Softball League. It's a tough acronym, so I won't try to do that one. But we're getting excited for that 2-month season in the middle of the summer here. It's starting up at the end of June. That I'm looking forward to checking out a few games and checking in on the kids. And this league was not designed for senior players, and this year they're allowing the senior players to finish out, some sort of semblance of a career
Mhm.
with the summer league, which I think was really a good idea.
That's
So
awesome. I like
yeah,
that, to give back and help out and break the rules because it's, this was unforeseen and nobody could have predicted that. So it's great that they're helping out the seniors because of what they dealt with.
absolutely.
That's really good, Coach. Well, Coach,
Yeah.
we've just about run out of time. Oh, before I forget, you were the coach at Platt when a friend of mine, who I played college baseball with, now is an officer up at Vernon, Michael
Yep.
Barolero. I'm sure he'll watch this. Maybe hopefully he's not at work when he's watching this. But if and when he does, do you have any words for him? Because I know he spoke very highly of you when I asked him yesterday about, hey, I saw Coach Catlin from Rocky Hill. Tell me about him. And he spoke very highly of you.
That's awesome. Mike and I, we had a unique, I was right out of college, and then I took the job at Platt as a long-term sub and the JV baseball coach. And Mike was, I think, a sophomore at the time when I joined the school there. And he just loved talking baseball. He just loved, I just remember him and Brian Sheehan, one of his
Yep.
teammates at the time.
Good old
They would,
Brian Sheen, yep.
whichever class I was subbing in, they would come visit me, and we'd talk shop. And to a certain extent, I was still a teacher, and I had to send them back to their classes, of course, to get their work done. But I always appreciated them checking in, and we'd have some good chats. And Mike was a hell of a pitcher and great lefty. And he, like you said, he would hit his spots. He had great fastball, great breaking ball, and he could hit for power. And great center fielder. I played with some good center fielders in my time at Berlin High, and
Mm-hmm.
I played with some really talented players. And Barolero would certainly be up there as one of the finer defensive center fielders I've seen. He was a great player, great kid.
And it's funny because he never really kind of begged Leighton, who's the coach at Albertus, but he would tell him, be like, hey, I can play center field. I can do it. Never got the opportunity. Told Leighton, hey, I want to hit. I can hit. We, as pitchers, were telling our head coach, let him hit. He can hit. And then finally, senior year, he got an opportunity to hit, right? We're down
Yeah,
south. I forgot what team we're facing, but it doesn't matter. I was on deck because we were winning by a lot, so the pitchers were allowed to hit finally, right? So
yeah,
Barrilero crushes a ball to right field, hits a home run. in his one at
Wow.
bat. And the funniest part is nobody took video after he told people, "Hey, if I get in at bat, take video."
That's very interesting. I mean, all my former players that went on to play at college, whether it be from Platt or
Mhm.
just the small connections I made, I always monitored their stats in college. I never picked up on that story. I would always be monitoring his pitching stats. I never knew he got that home run. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, Mike, he's not the kind of guy, and this is why I admire him so much. He's not someone that gloats. I mean, he'll if you start coming after him, he'll tell it like it is. I mean, he's very honest, and he has a great family. I've met all of them; they're very nice to me. But he's the kind of guy that just goes out, does his job, throws 7 shutout innings, maybe strikes out 5 or 6, but he keeps the. I mean, he would face the best teams in the GNAC, like St. Joe's, Suffolk, who used to be in the GNAC, and he would just shut them down, but nobody would score for him. So that was the problem.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to my time at Platt. I mean, we had some characters on that team. I almost say that lightly, and I appreciated it. Emotions were high, sometimes low. People
Mm-hmm.
would be getting mad, happy. We were all over the place. And Barrelero was always steady. And
Steady Eddie.
it's great.
Yep.
It's great when your pitcher, is a steady influence on the rest of the players. And I'll never forget. Like, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, he'd strike out the side, and he wouldn't pump a fist or anything. He'd just walk to the dugout, crack a joke with me or his teammates,
Yep.
and just be watching on the fence. Like, he was very humble, and that's funny you bring that up.
Like I couldn't do that. Like he would look at me and laugh because like I'm very like energetic. I'm very emotional. So like if
Yeah,
I got out of a big jam, I'm like extremely hyped, and he's looking at me like, and I'm like, sorry, like, and then I'd see him do the same thing, and I'm just like, how, I would be going nuts, and he's just like, he has like that. I remember Coach Penders from UConn told a player that I used to broadcast for the Blues. He would tell his players have a duck face, and not the duck face like, you know.
yeah,
He would say have a duck face because a duck face, no matter if it's sunny out or it's rainy out, same face.
yeah. I mean, act like you've been there. I
Yeah.
you know, I try to, even when as a coach, when times are good, times are bad. Like, I'm trying to, I always loved Belichick and Joe Torre and
Yep.
Brad Stevens. I'm just gonna drop a bunch of coaches that you just never felt panic. And you like to play for those types of coaches and players.
Mhm.
And Barrelero, same thing. I mean, there's never any panic. You trusted him when he had the ball. And I think that's a great trait to have in life in general. So,
Well, Coach, thank you so much for being able to come on. I don't mean to take you away from your family, but it was great talking with you, and hopefully you'll want to come back on in the near future.
this was awesome, Chris. I wish you good luck. And I could see this podcast. You're doing a great thing during this pandemic, interviewing a lot of high school coaches and players. And I see your following going to continue to rise for sure. So
I
keep up the
appreciate
good
that.
work yourself.
Thank you. I really do. I really do appreciate that, Coach. That'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.